7 years after the coffee spill. Khloe stood in the nursery of their Malibu home, one hand resting on her 8-month pregnant belly, the other arranging books on a shelf. The room was painted a soft sage green, gender-neutral and calming. James had built the crib himself, insisting he could do it despite having zero carpentry experience. It was slightly crooked, but perfect. Her phone rang. An unknown New York number. She almost didn't answer. Then something made her pick up. Khloe Glover. She'd kept both names professionally, but socially she was fully Khloe Glover now. Mrs. Glover. This is Detective Sarah Martinez with the NYPD. I'm calling about Victoria Hastings. Khloe's stomach dropped. She hadn't heard that name in years. What about her? She was released from prison 6 months ago. Served her full sentence for the surveillance and blackmail charges. We've been monitoring her as part of her parole conditions. A pause. She disappeared 3 weeks ago, cut off her ankle monitor and vanished. We've been trying to locate her. And her last known search history showed multiple queries about you and Mr. Glover. You think she's coming after us again? We think it's a possibility. I wanted to warn you. Be vigilant. If you see her or receive any contact, call immediately. After hanging up, Khloe stood frozen. Victoria. After all these years, still seeking revenge. She called James immediately. We have a problem. By the time he arrived home 20 minutes later, Khloe had already contacted their security company. Guards were being posted around the property. Camera systems upgraded. Protocols activated. This is insane, Khloe said, pacing their living room. It's been 7 years. 7 years since she planted those cameras. Why now? Because she spent those 7 years in prison, probably obsessing over what she lost while we've been thriving. James's expression was grim. Her sister Rebecca is still in exile. Her Aunt Margaret died 2 years ago. Did you know that?
No.
Heart attack. Sudden. Victoria was still in prison, couldn't attend the funeral. He pulled up information on his tablet. According to her parole officer's reports, she became fixated on us after Margaret's death, blamed us for her family's destruction. We didn't destroy her family. She made choices. Rational thought doesn't apply to obsession. James moved to the windows, scanning the property. We need to assume she's dangerous, desperate, with nothing left to lose. That night, Khloe barely slept. Every sound made her jump. Every shadow seemed threatening. James stayed awake too, monitoring security feeds from his phone. At 3 a.m., the front gate alarm triggered. James was on his feet instantly, pulling up camera feeds. A figure stood at the gate, hooded, face obscured. Stay here, James ordered, already moving toward the door. Absolutely not. We faced this together. Remember, they went to the security room where guards were already responding. On the monitor, they watched security approach the figure at the gate. The person pulled back their hood.
Victoria.
Older, harder, but unmistakably her. I just want to talk. Her voice came through the intercom. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Call the police, James told the head of security. Wait, Khloe said. Something in Victoria's voice. Not rage or menace, but exhaustion. Let me talk to her. Through the intercom. I want to hear what she has to say. Khloe. She's dangerous. She's desperate. There's a difference. Khloe moved to the intercom.
Victoria.
This Khloe. What do you want? A long pause. Then, I wanted to see if you were real. If the life you're living is actually what it looks like from the outside. What does it look like? Perfect. Successful. Happy. Everything I'll never have because of choices I made 7 years ago. Victoria's voice cracked. I destroyed my life trying to destroy yours, and you just thrived anyway. Had the wedding. Built the agency. Now you're pregnant. Living in this beautiful house. You won. This isn't a game, Victoria. There are no winners. Aren't there? You have everything. I have nothing. My sister won't speak to me. Says I'm an embarrassment. My aunt died thinking I'd ruined our family name. I can't get a job because I'm an ex-con. I can barely afford a motel room. She looked directly at the camera. I'm not here to threaten you. I'm here to ask, how? How did you survive everything and come out stronger? While I'm drowning. The question was so raw, so honest, that Khloe felt an unexpected surge of compassion. We survived because we stopped fighting everyone else and started fighting for each other, Khloe said quietly. We owned our mistakes instead of weaponizing others. We chose growth over revenge. That's easy to say when you're on top. We weren't always on top. We hit bottom plenty of times. The difference is we didn't stay there. Khloe took a breath. Victoria, you made terrible choices. Invaded our privacy, blackmailed us, tried to destroy our lives. I can't forgive that. But I also can't ignore that you're clearly suffering. So what? You feel sorry for me? I feel sorry for both of us. For the time we wasted on this war. For the energy that could have gone to building something instead of destroying. Khloe glanced at James, who nodded slightly. I'm going to give you something. Not because I owe you, but because I refuse to be the person who kicks someone when they're down. I don't want your charity. It's not charity. It's a choice. Khloe made a decision that would have been unthinkable 7 years ago. There's a rehabilitation program in San Diego. They help ex-cons re-enter the workforce. I'll make a call, get you into the program, cover the costs. What you do with that opportunity is up to you. Victoria stared at the camera, clearly shocked. Why would you do that? Because holding on to anger is exhausting. Because my daughter, she touched her belly, is going to be born into a world complicated enough without me adding more bitterness to it. And because everyone deserves a second chance. Even people who tried to destroy us. Silence. Then Victoria's shoulders shook. She was crying. I don't deserve this, she whispered. Probably not. But I'm offering anyway. Khloe's voice was firm. The program. One chance. If you violate parole again, if you come after us, if you do anything except rebuilding your life, we're done. I'll throw every legal resource we have at making sure you go back to prison. Understood. Understood. Then go home. I'll have my assistant contact you tomorrow with the program details. After Victoria left, escorted away by police who'd arrived to check on the situation, James pulled Khloe into his arms. That was either the kindest thing you've ever done or the most naive, he said. Maybe both. But I meant what I said. I'm tired of carrying anger. Tired of looking over my shoulder. If helping her means we can finally close this chapter, it's worth it. And if she betrays this generosity, then we handle it. Together. Like we handle everything. 3 days later, Khloe got confirmation that Victoria had enrolled in the San Diego program. Whether she'd succeed or self-destruct remained to be seen. But at least Khloe had tried. 2 weeks after that, Khloe went into labor. 16 hours of labor. James never left her side. Even when she squeezed his hand hard enough to leave bruises. Even when she yelled at him that this was somehow his fault. At 6:47 a.m. on a perfect California morning, Maya Elizabeth Glover entered the world screaming her displeasure at being evicted from her comfortable womb. She has your determination, James said, holding their daughter with an expression of pure awe, already furious about things not going her way. And your stubbornness? Khloe countered, exhausted but elated. Look how she's gripping your finger. Won't let go. They spent the first hour just staring at Maya, marveling that they'd created this tiny, perfect human. All the battles they'd fought, all the crises they'd survived, everything had led to this moment. Eleanor arrived within hours, sweeping into the hospital room like she owned it. Let me see my granddaughter, she demanded, then softened completely when James placed Maya in her arms. Oh, she's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Khloe's parents came next, her mother crying happy tears, her father looking terrified to hold something so small and fragile. You did good, baby girl, her father said to Khloe. Both of you did real good. They brought Maya home 2 days later to a house filled with flowers, gifts, and a level of chaos neither of them was prepared for. How is something so small so loud? James asked at 3 a.m., walking the hallway with a screaming Maya while Khloe tried to pump breast milk. Because she's ours, Khloe said. Drama runs in the family. The first month was a blur of sleepless nights, diaper changes, and the overwhelming realization that they were responsible for keeping this tiny human alive. Both Parker Glover Creative and James's foundation were put on temporary hold while they figured out basic parenting. "I ran a billion-dollar company," James said one evening, covered in spit-up. "Why can't I figure out how to burp a baby?" "Because babies don't follow corporate logic," Khloe said, taking Maya from him. "They follow chaos theory." But slowly they found their rhythm. Khloe's maternity leave stretched to 6 months. She'd built her company specifically to allow this flexibility. James worked from home, taking calls during Maya's naps, scheduling meetings around feeding times. When Maya was 4 months old, Khloe received an unexpected email. Subject: "Thank you." It was from Victoria. "I've been in the program for 3 months now. I have a job, just administrative work, nothing glamorous. But it's honest. I'm seeing a therapist, working through the anger and obsession that destroyed my life. I wanted you to know that your generosity wasn't wasted. I'm not fixed, probably never will be completely. But I'm trying. Actually trying to build something instead of tearing things down. I also wanted to apologize. Really apologize, not the defensive half apologies I gave before. I invaded your privacy, threatened your safety, tried to destroy your happiness. There's no justification for that. I was wrong. Completely, inexcusably wrong. You didn't have to help me. You had every right to let me self-destruct. But you chose compassion instead. That choice changed my life. I won't contact you again. You deserve peace. But I needed you to know that your kindness mattered. Thank you."
Victoria.
Khloe showed James the email. He read it, expression unreadable. "Do you believe her?" he asked. "I don't know. But I want to." Khloe looked at Maya, sleeping peacefully in her bassinet. "I want my daughter to grow up in a world where people can change, where second chances are possible, where mercy exists." "Then we believe her," James said. "And we hope she proves worthy of that belief." When Maya was 6 months old, Khloe returned to Parker Glover Creative part-time. 3 days a week, 6 hours a day. Her team had thrived in her absence, proving the culture she'd built was sustainable. "We missed you," her deputy director, now CEO, said. "But we also proved we can function without you micromanaging. So welcome back, creative director. Just remember, you don't have to save us anymore. We can save ourselves." It was exactly what Khloe needed to hear. James, meanwhile, had poured himself into the foundation. The Glover Foundation for Community Development had grown from a personal project into a major philanthropic organization, funding affordable housing, fighting displacement, supporting communities affected by aggressive development. "I'm trying to make up for Riverside," he told Khloe one evening. "All those families I displaced when I was 27. I can't undo that damage. But maybe I can prevent it from happening to others." "You're a good man," Khloe said. "Took you a while to figure that out. But you're a good man." Maya's first birthday came faster than either of them expected. They threw a small party, family, close friends, people who'd been part of their journey. Eleanor watched Maya smash cake into her face with delight. "She's going to be a force, just like her mother." "God help us all," James muttered, but he was smiling. That evening, after everyone left and Maya was asleep, Khloe and James sat on their terrace. The same terrace where they'd made so many plans, faced so many crises, built so much together. "Do you ever think about how different our lives would be if I hadn't spilled that coffee?" Khloe asked. "All the time. You'd probably be working somewhere else, happy and successful. I'd probably be a lonely workaholic wondering why success felt empty. Instead I spilled coffee on a billionaire, lied my way into his company, got blackmailed, nearly destroyed both our careers, and somehow ended up with the most complicated, wonderful life imaginable." She leaned into him. "No regrets." "Not a single one. You. Only that I didn't spill the coffee sooner." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the ocean shimmer in moonlight. 7 years. 7 years since that first disastrous meeting. 7 years of growth, mistakes, victories, and lessons learned the hard way. "James," Khloe said quietly. Thank you. For what? For seeing potential in me when I was just a terrified marketing assistant who couldn't even carry coffee properly. For fighting for us when it would have been easier to let me go. For building a life with me that's messy and imperfect and absolutely real. Thank you for being brave enough to walk into my office that day. For challenging me. For making me want to be better than I was. He pulled her closer. For making me believe love was worth the complications. Khloe's phone buzzed. A message from her deputy director at Parker Glover Creative. Just landed the quantum tech account. 12 million. Biggest contract in company history. Thought you'd want to know. She showed James, grinning. We did it. Built something that doesn't need us to succeed. Best kind of success, James agreed. Another message. This one from James's foundation director. Mayor just announced new affordable housing initiative based on our recommendations. 5,000 units. We're changing policy, not just treating symptoms. James read it, something like wonder in his expression. We're actually making a difference. We are, Khloe confirmed. Not perfect, not solving everything, but making the world a little better than we found it. They went to check on Maya before bed. She slept peacefully, tiny chest rising and falling, completely unaware of how much her parents had fought to build the life she'd been born into. What do we tell her? Khloe whispered, standing over Maya's crib. When she's old enough to ask how we met, how we built this life. The truth, James said, that I was a ruthless CEO who'd forgotten how to be human, that you were an ambitious young woman willing to take risks to prove yourself, that we crashed into each other spectacularly and somehow found love in the wreckage. And the scandals? The blackmail? All the ugly parts. Those too, because the ugly parts made us who we are. They taught us what matters. He wrapped an arm around Khloe's waist. We'll tell her that love isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest, growing together, choosing each other even when it's complicated. She's going to think we're crazy, probably, but she'll also know that we fought for this family, that we didn't give up when things got hard. That's worth something. They returned to their bedroom. Khloe pulled out her laptop, opening a document she'd been working on for months. What's that? James asked. Our story. I've been writing it down. For Maya when she's older. So she knows where she came from. She showed him the first page. 7 years ago, I spilled coffee in a boardroom and accidentally changed my entire life. This is the story of how a clumsy mistake led to blackmail, fake engagements, public scandals, and the most complicated love story I never saw coming. James read it, smiling. You're writing a memoir? A family history. The real version. Not the sanitized story we'll tell acquaintances, but the messy truth. She looked at him. Do you mind? Some of it doesn't paint either of us in the best light. Good. The best stories never do. He kissed her temple. Write it all. The mistakes. The growth. Everything. Our daughter should know her parents are human. Over the next year, Khloe continued writing. She documented the coffee spill, the first kiss, the blackmail attempts, the board battles. She wrote about their year apart when she took the LA job. The impossible revenue targets. Learning to balance ambition with love. She wrote about Victoria's redemption arc, because 6 months after that initial email, Victoria had sent another update. She'd been promoted at her job, started volunteering at a reentry program, helping other ex-cons navigate life after prison. She was building something positive from her worst mistakes. People can change, Khloe wrote. Not easily, not quickly, but with genuine effort and second chances, transformation is possible. We proved it. Victoria proved it. Anyone can, if they choose growth over bitterness. Maya's second birthday came, then her third. She grew into a whirlwind of a toddler. Stubborn like James, fearless like Khloe, absolutely certain the world revolved around her. She's going to be a CEO someday, Eleanor predicted, watching 3-year-old Maya boss around kids at her birthday party. Probably by the time she's 25. God help whoever works for her, Khloe muttered. Parker Glover Creative celebrated its fifth anniversary with $40 million in annual revenue and 75 employees. Khloe remained creative director, working 30 hours a week, deeply involved but not consumed. The Glover Foundation had grown into one of California's most influential philanthropic organizations, preventing displacement for thousands of families and funding community development across 3 states. James scaled back further, focusing on strategy while letting younger leaders execute. "I'm 50 years old," he said. "Time to mentor instead of dominate." One evening, when Maya was 4, she asked the question Khloe had been anticipating. "Mama, how did you and Daddy meet?" Khloe and James exchanged glances. They'd prepared for this. "Well, baby," Khloe started, pulling Maya onto her lap. "Mama was very nervous at work one day, and I was carrying coffee, which I wasn't very good at, and I dropped it. The coffee went everywhere, all over the floor in front of very important people." Maya's eyes went wide. "Did you get in trouble?" "A little, but that's also how I met Daddy. He was one of the important people. And even though I'd made a mess, he gave me a chance to show what I could do." "And then you fell in love?" "Eventually. Took a while. We had to work together, become friends, learn to trust each other." James added, "And we made lots of mistakes along the way, but we kept choosing each other. That's the important part." "What kind of mistakes?" Maya asked, because 4-year-olds always ask the hardest questions. "All kinds," Khloe said honestly. "We lied when we should have told the truth. We worked too hard and forgot to take care of ourselves. We let other people make us doubt what mattered." "But you fixed it?" "We tried to. Every day we tried to be a little better than we were the day before. We're still trying." She kissed Maya's forehead. "That's what love is, sweetie. Not being perfect, but trying to grow together." Maya seemed to accept this. "Can I have ice cream?" Just like that, the profound conversation was over, replaced by a 4-year-old's more pressing concerns. When Maya was 5, Khloe finished the memoir. 300 pages documenting their entire journey. She gave it to James to read. He spent a weekend going through it, occasionally laughing, occasionally getting emotional. When he finished, he found Khloe in the garden. "It's beautiful," he said simply, "and honest, and exactly what our daughter will need someday when she's trying to figure out how to build her own complicated life. Should we publish it? Let other people read our story?" James considered this. "Maybe, after we're gone. Let it be our legacy. Not the companies we built or the money we made, but the proof that imperfect people can create something real." 5 years after Maya's birth, Khloe discovered she was pregnant again. "Really?" James said, looking at the test. "We're doing this again?" Apparently the universe thinks we didn't learn enough from round 1. Their son, Lucas James Glover, was born on a rainy November morning. Quieter than Maya, thoughtful where she was impulsive, he balanced their family perfectly. Maya, now 7, took her role as big sister seriously. "I'll teach him everything," she announced. "How to be brave and strong and not afraid of anything. And also how to be kind," Khloe added. "Being strong doesn't mean being hard." "Like Daddy," Maya said. "He's strong but also nice. Most of the time." "Most of the time," James agreed, fighting a smile. With 2 children, 2 careers, and a full life, Khloe and James had to be even more intentional about balance. They established rules. No work after 6 p.m. Family dinner every night. Weekly date nights. Annual vacations where phones stayed off. "We're not going to be those parents who miss everything because we're too busy," Khloe said firmly. "Agreed. We fought too hard to build this life. We're going to actually live it." 10 years after the coffee spill, Khloe and James were invited back to Glover Industries for a special event. The company was renaming the main conference room, the same room where she'd spilled coffee all those years ago, the Khloe Parker Innovation Center. For the woman whose courage to pitch an impossible idea changed this company's trajectory, the current CEO said during the dedication ceremony. Khloe stood before the plaque, remembering that terrified 26-year-old who'd walked into this building with a padded resume and desperate ambition. "That woman would never believe this," she whispered to James. That woman was always capable of it. She just didn't know yet. The ceremony concluded with Khloe giving a speech to the assembled employees, many of whom hadn't even been hired when she worked there. 10 years ago, I stood in this room and spilled coffee everywhere, she began, getting laughs. I was humiliated, certain my career was over before it started. But that mistake led to an opportunity, and that opportunity led to everything else. She looked around the room, at young professionals just starting their careers, at mid-level managers fighting to prove themselves, at executives who'd climbed the ladder through talent and persistence. Whatever brought you here, lucky breaks or hard work, connections or raw talent, what matters is what you do with the opportunity, how you grow, how you treat people, whether you choose integrity when no one's watching. She paused, gathering her thoughts. I made so many mistakes. I lied on my resume. I dated my boss. I nearly destroyed my career multiple times through poor judgment and stubborn pride. But I also learned. I grew. I surrounded myself with people who made me better. Her eyes found James in the audience. Success isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest enough to acknowledge your flaws, brave enough to work on them, and wise enough to accept help when you need it. After the ceremony, they drove home to relieve the babysitter. Maya and Lucas were playing in the living room. Maya building an elaborate tower, Lucas methodically knocking it down. They're perfect, James said, watching them. They're ours, Khloe corrected. Which means they're perfectly imperfect. Just like us. That night, after the kids were asleep, Khloe updated the memoir's final chapter. 10 years ago, I spilled coffee and thought it was the worst moment of my life. Today, I realize it was the best. Because that mistake led to every good thing I have now. My career, my marriage, my children, my understanding of who I am and what I'm capable of. The journey wasn't clean. It wasn't easy. There were scandals and betrayals and moments where I thought everything would fall apart. But we survived. We grew. We built something real. To my daughter Maya and my son Lucas, when you read this someday, I want you to know that your parents are not perfect. We've made mistakes, some spectacular, some small, all educational. But we've also tried. Every single day we've tried to be better, to choose love over fear, to build something worth having. That's all anyone can do. Try, grow, choose wisely, and sometimes embrace the accidents. Because the best things in life often come from the moments you least expect. With love, your imperfect but persistent mom. Khloe closed the laptop and went to find James on the terrace. Their terrace, where they'd made so many plans and faced so many crises and built so much together. It's done, she said, settling beside him. The memoir, our story, all of it. How does it end? With us, here, now, choosing each other, choosing our family, choosing the life we built from chaos and coffee spills and impossible odds. James pulled her close. Sounds perfect. Sounds real, Khloe corrected. They sat together watching the ocean, the same ocean they'd watched 1,000 times before, but never quite like this. With perspective, with gratitude, with the deep satisfaction of knowing they'd taken broken pieces and built something whole. Somewhere inside, Maya laughed at something Lucas did. The sound drifted through the open doors, pure, joyful, the soundtrack of the life they'd created. No regrets? James asked the same question they'd asked each other 100 times over the years. Not a single one, Khloe said. You? Only that I didn't appreciate the coffee spill enough when it happened. Should have known right then that you'd turn my entire world upside down. Would you have done anything differently? James thought about it, really thought.
No.
Every mistake led us here. Every crisis made us stronger. Every moment of chaos taught us what mattered. Then it was all worth it. Every second. They sat in comfortable silence. Two imperfect people who'd found each other in the most unlikely way, built something real from the wreckage, and created a life worth living. The coffee spill that started it all was 10 years gone. But its effects rippled forward, through their careers, their marriage, their children, their understanding of what it meant to build something that mattered. I love you, Khloe said. Still. Always. despite everything and because of everything. I love you too, James replied. From that first disastrous meeting to this moment and every moment after. And as the sun set over the Pacific Ocean, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and gold, they sat together, exactly where they were meant to be. Not perfect, but real. Not easy, but worth it. Not the end of their story, but the beginning of their forever. And that's where their story ends, or rather, where it begins anew. From a coffee spill to a lifetime together, Khloe and James proved that love isn't about perfection. It's about growth, honesty, and choosing each other every single day. Thank you for being part of this incredible journey from episode 1 to the finale. Drop a comment sharing your favorite moment from the entire series, and hit that like button if the story touched your heart, and subscribe to Urban Folks TV. Your support made this series possible. Until the next story.